Hi everybody, thanks for having us. My name is Christoph Müller-Dechent. I am the CEO of FoodLoop Mobile, the innovation to not only reduce food waste in retail significantly, but make food more affordable and install a new way of doing charity in food retail. What we basically do is we have a backend that is tied to every single supermarket in this world by 2020. This is our vision. In order to use their stock information of products that they have with a short shelf life, meaning that if you have a yogurt, for instance, that only has 5 days until the best before or expiration date goes off, the supermarket sends that information over to our SAP HANA server, where we then filter and relay that information to the FoodLoop consumer app, so that all we who are researching for fresh produce that is close to the best before date get that real-time information, automatic, that our favorite fresh products are discounted because of that short shelf life. Basically telling us, please come and buy me, I am discounted. That's what FoodLoop does. And we're the first of its kind. No one has ever done that before, by connecting one server infrastructure to thousands of supermarkets in order to use that information and use that as a marketing. To give you an idea of how much market potential there is for FoodLoop, I'd like to give you guys a sample case study from Germany that as well has been conducted for the first time ever in March 2012 by the Ministry of Nutrition here in Germany. And they found out that only on the level of food retail, they throw away 550,000 tons a year, meaning 1.5 billion, which is only, from the retailer's perspective, 1% of their total revenue. But to visualize that a little more for the consumer, that is basically 1 up to 2 grocery shopping carts full of food every day that they throw away, and that up to 11 days before the best before date goes off. And that's basically how I got that idea to FoodLoop in October 2012. I went to a supermarket and I saw that they had no milk with a shelf life that was less than 7 days. And when I asked the store manager, he was like, that's our so-called fresh policy. That's what the headquarter dictates us. We don't discount, we throw it away, and the headquarter refunds all that write-offs that we are throwing away. So that, from my perspective as a media management master, was a huge system failure, a huge mistake. How can a headquarter refund somebody for something that is thrown away, where you can actually market it? Here in Germany, the so-called clearance shelf marketing, where retail staff puts the fresh produce, puts the meat onto specific shelves that look a little unattractive or bargain discount shelves. They do that, but the justification why only a few do that is that it's labor intense. Just to have somebody that goes through the aisles every day, takes off the products and puts it on that separate shelf with a discount red unattractive tag on it. And that's where we come into play. Here a few more samples, how that looks in the Netherlands. Down there, the 35% sign is Albert Heijn. Up there, we have the major brands, Edeka and Rewe here from Germany. And the one up in the middle is funny because that has been a butter that still had 4 days left before the best before days went off. And the simple thing they did, they printed out an A4 sheet just saying, we have our butter discounted by 50%. And that is way too inefficient for nowadays digital media society. And the innovation that we're based on, before I get into the generic enablers that make FoodLoop actually possible and add value to us, is the so-called new barcode standard. You guys, all of us know the so-called EAN barcode standard that had been around for about 10 to 15 years, the zebra striped on about every single product in this world. From 2008 on, that same company, which is called Global Standards, they market and sell that barcode under a license fee. They introduced the so-called data bar, with that simple difference that within that barcode you can store information such as the best before date. If you were selling fruits, you could store the weight of a product, so it doesn't have to get weighed at the cashier during checkout. And we basically take that information of the barcode specs best before date and put it into the retailer's ERP, connect our system to it, and have the retailer push the information of every product. Whenever yogurt goes over the checkout, the ERP notices, which we actually created for them in our pilot. And then we collect that information, filter up it based on the individual user's request, such as your favorite stores, your favorite brands, your favorite products. But that does actually require an in-memory database. It requires location-based services. It requires analysis. And before I get into the structure, here's some added values, the USPs of what FoodLoop does to society and what of a major game changer for food retail industry we can be, what potential we have. Where we see, of course, the retailer itself, the win situation for them is they save money. They have less write-offs. They have less labor-intense cost. Because with FoodLoop, the store floor managers don't put stuff on separate shelves. You won't even notice that that yogurt will get discounted during checkout. It has the new barcode, and FoodLoop, you receive that information that'll be discounted at the checkout. You go to the shelf in the store, pick that yogurt, compare within our app. Yes, that'll be the one that I get discounted at checkout automatically, which means there's no unattractive red tag sign to it. There's no being embarrassed at the checkout for having bought something that is even cheap or so. It's all undercover. The labor of the stores completely fades away, which means an average of 10 hours a week can be saved from every individual store for not having to do the whole arrangement, putting it on special shelves or throwing it away. Of course, we are resource efficient, meaning we are ecologically and economically profitable. Plus, we have a charity function, meaning that when you scan the user ID of FoodLoop, and here's where the FIWARE Cosmos platform will come into play in a second. When you scan the user ID during checkout, all the receipt data will be transferred into your app, and we then check what FoodLoop products you just purchased, and then award the customers with loyalty points, like Payback. Any loyalty partner program does it in that world. Meaning at that point, we all have already benefited from discounted products that we've just purchased. But in addition to that, you receive that points, which at the end of the month can be converted into money. And the difference to loyalty card programs is then you won't exchange it for pots or pans or anything ridiculous like that. But you can choose from a list of charity organizations that are connected to FoodLoop and then pick. Would you want to donate your points to the local playground that's been built around your corner in your neighborhood? Or do you want to save it to the WWF Foundation or to any other major one? It's up to us customers where you want your points and your monies to go to. That is what FoodLoop basically does and its business model. The app, the front-end app for the consumers is, of course, for free. Our business model is that every retailer, every supermarket will pay us a license fee for being connected to our platform, for using the data of the customers, which we are looking by 2019. When we upload the receipts into the app, the retailers, of course, are even more interested in the customers' data. Like, what are the people buying, at what day, how many days before the best before date goes off, what gets them into the stores, and then create actual customer profiles of individual people where they know their age, they know their gender, they know their shopping habits, their favorite stores, where we come into play with our infrastructure, which is based on FIWARE Labs Cloud, where we are currently working with SAP HANA and have been working with SAP HANA in our prototyping for the past 9 months. But ever since we won the Smart Business and Industry Challenge from FIWARE it was in January, it was 1st of February when we made the first place over there, which, by the way, was awarded with 75,000 euros. So it's definitely worthwhile giving FIWARE infrastructure a shot to see if there is an added value for your company, which we figured out there actually was not only one added value, but quite a couple. Let's take the third point, for instance, the logs generic enabler. We implemented in February at that challenge, offers FoodLoop to make indoor navigation possible without having to install specific, like, dozens of sensors within one supermarket, but just have that generic enabler figure that out. I would love to go more into detail, but our CTO is over there. We have a stand all throughout this week at the Federal Ministry of Economics here of Germany. If you're interested in checking out our prototype, you're more than welcome to see us at that stand right across the hall in here. The Android flow management, as we have been just prototyping for the past 6 months with the 2 of Germany's largest retailers, we didn't have any physical stores that we can go and check out the data. So we simulated the whole thing with Android flow management, which lets us, before we go into real field testing, evaluate and how that network structure is going to work, how much data will be shifted, how much will that be for the data transfer, for the data plans that people might have. And the REST client generator saved us already a month work for every function that we added into our basic IT infrastructure. We have been just using the REST client generator from now on, which is an FIWARE generator that, from the CEO perspective, saved me a month's salary for the CTO for not having to do that much work, as it is way less redundant. And again, the KeyRock identity management. All us customers, the KeyRock identity management in FoodLoop has been used for the front end. Here, I have to say that the original KeyRock identity management, the origin where it came from, was made for a web interface. And we basically took the identity management and are putting it into our natives apps that we're developing for Android, for iOS at that point. And that actually makes it safe for us consumers to not give the data away in case you don't want that. Like, imagine you had a household keeping book loading all your data into your app, and people could just randomly check out what you guys have been doing. The whole NSA stealing data and being a transparent customer. That has been saved and made secure through the generic enabler. So there's no opt-in or opt-out by giving your data away unless you really want to. But here again, the charity function would just work if a customer is willing to give their data away long term. But all these generic enablers do actually add value, and the most interesting part, the most important potential generic enabler is the Cosmos in-memory platform, which could either complement, and I have to be careful on this one as the SAP person is still around, or even replace the SAP in-memory HANA structure that we have been working with from last March 2013 on. Just to take that huge loads of data from the one side and evaluate it for the retailers, and on the other side, once we have one customer for FoodLoop is one franchise food retailer, meaning that they have 4,000 branches only in Germany. It can be any of the major 5 we have over here. But just to filter the huge amounts of data and send them to us customers, we have to have an in-memory database that just does that in real time. Like if you're at the checkout, there's a yogurt that goes across the checkout. That could probably be the last yogurt that they have based on that FoodLoop offer, where you see a simple mock-up of ours over here. That's how the typical store list looks. And there's 2 information retailers don't like to be communicated beyond the store, which is actual pricing, absolute prices, plus quantities. Let's imagine there was a Aldi supermarket saying, we have 50 yogurts that we just miscalculated because we purchased too many and we would all throw them away. We did solve that by simply introducing a so-called traffic light system. Over here, these dots are still gray on the right-hand side, but if it is either green, it communicates to us customers, yes, that's my yogurt, I might want to grab that, and they still have more than enough of that discounted yogurts for me. That traffic light can also be yellow, meaning I gotta hurry. That might actually be the last one or the last one of the 2. And once you receive that real-time automated information push notification, you can basically just tap that info and reserve it within that app. That doesn't mean that anyone is going to take that yogurt off the shelf for you and keeps it for you. But imagine we, in our background IT, know how many yogurts there are exactly. And if 10 of you just hit that button, as we are all interested in that offers, it will disappear immediately. Or at the same point, we are also connected to the checkouts, not only the ERP, but every single checkout station. So once that last offer is scanned, the real-time information will take that offer out that app, or will notify you, hey, you were interested, but sadly there was somebody in the physical stationary store who just took that product from you. So that is basically the generic enablers we have been using. And the rest and the infrastructure we have been using before we actually have heard about FIWARE. And the first contact to FIWARE we made probably last October when we were participating in the Smart Industry and Business Challenge, which, by the way, helped us a great deal to move ahead, not only for added IT values, but to get exposed to media, just to get the word out there, who we are and what we do, as we are the first of our kinds. No one has ever done that before, as it's a huge endeavor to connect so many different ERP systems. As you can imagine, as we probably know, SAP is the market leader in ERP systems, is our strategic partner just for that, as they hold 23% market share worldwide, meaning they're in about every fourth up to fifth food retail store in the world. That's why we chose SAP as a strategic partner from the ERP side. And then we got their HANA in-memory database as well, which allows us then to not only build an interface, so every single supermarket retailer can program their offers and how they want to sell it, but to actually integrate with SAP Retail. So we hope to have that FoodLoop button within every SAP Retail business suite by 2019. And on top of that, we use the FIWARE Cosmos generic and the in-memory database of theirs to then evaluate all that data for the retailer on the one end, for us customers on the other end, just to get the most explicit, current, up-to-date offers that we all are interested in. And for the ones that don't use many apps, but that are interested in just having a shopping list within an app and just open it up once a week, we will send push notifications to you guys as well. Let's say you just go shopping every Wednesday at 6 p.m. at your favorite supermarket chain, and that's your top 10 products. And you don't like using an app being the scout for cheap bargain offers. You just get that notification once a week, and then you can go to that store and buy your products. Though, to gain more authenticity or credibility, as we are, and I just can repeat myself, we are the first ones by what we're doing, the so-called data bar with the best before date has been introduced in South Korea in 2011 with a pilot, where they simply, it's Korea Lotte Market, it's what it's called, and they ran a pilot for 6 weeks, putting that new data bar on their milk and on their soy sprouts. And here in that, and they simply didn't communicate anything through an app, but put a sign at every store entrance saying, if you find a milk or if you find soy sprouts that have less than 4 days until the best before date goes off, you get automatic 20% discount during checkout. And with that kind of game theory type of thinking, they sent the customers through their shops. And the evaluation found out on the bottom you have the, on the left bottom you have the regular test stores that have a 60% sales compared, no, they have an 80% sales compared to the test store who increased their sales by 60%. And then again, you guys could argue that's just sales, that's not profits. If you look at the right chart over there, you can see that the net profit of the not test stores is still 18%, but the other one that had been tested with a new system, they increased their profits by 4% compared to the other ones, meaning that they attracted more customers, meaning that they sold more, meaning that they had less write-offs, meaning they had less disposal costs and less labor works, which is the 5 winning USP winning points for the retailer. Plus, we customers love, of course, to go cheap bargain shopping, especially here in Germany. And the cherry on top of all that is that we are resource efficient, meaning that if you buy those products, we have less trash in the world. That adds up being our business model ecological, economical, and with the charity function even socially valuable. And all this would not be that fast to be executed without the FIWARE generic enablers, as their infrastructure accessible for free, having the support of the advisors over there whenever we have a question. And I wonder if that is a question because we won that prize, but whenever we send something out to them, they give us individual feedback, like how does that work? And they're still adding on that. And we are probably going to build our own generic enabler once we're done with everything. Yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Questions? Thank you.